Happy Memorial Day, everyone in the United States. It is now officially Memorial Day in my time zone because we just watched a long wrestling show. This is Kevin E. Lee here with my friend Jeremy Finestone from Fight Game Media to run down the fifth. This is the fifth show, right? The fifth annual.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they kicked off with the first one. 5-year anniversary of AEW, the fifth Double or Nothing show, and we're gonna run down every part of it till it's done.
Because I thought you were gonna say it was the fifth AEW pay-per-view of the year, and I was quickly in my head like, oh my god, is that true? Is that? And I was like,
I think it's just the third, right?
Right?
Yeah.
World's End doesn't really count as a 2023.
No.
But
yeah.
Sure. We watched a show.
Boy, we did.
That was a professional wrestling show.
Yeah.
Brought to you on pay-per-view, Kevin.
So 2 years ago, we were together. The one and only time that we've ever been together in person in Vegas. And I believe right about now, we were probably sitting in a little bar across the street.
Coughing, knowing that we were
not knowing that we were incubating COVID at the moment.
Thank you, Paul.
So which was more exhausting, getting COVID 2 years ago or this show?
I will definitely say COVID because that was a 3-week debacle
in
which my life was severely inconvenienced. And I'll wake up tomorrow, in all honesty, and I won't think twice about this show.
That's true,
I'm not 100% sure that's the result that they wanted out of this, but this was a mixed bag, in all honesty.
Yeah, I feel like I'm being hard on it. I there are some people in our Discord that were pretty harsh on the show. I would not say bad show. I would not say bad time. It was a lot.
Talking a C- or anything like that. But if someone's gonna say C+, it's the bait. It's like the lowest level. Like I'm not gonna argue with that either because we've had quality AEW pay-per-views.
Yeah,
and you cannot put this up against the best AEW pay-per-views and say that they were all on the same level.
And to be fair, the last AEW pay-per-view had arguably one of the greatest wrestling matches of all time. So
transcendent wrestling.
High bar.
Minus Tiger Driver drama.
yeah. That was played into tonight.
Sure.
Well, before we get going in the show, because we really haven't talked about it too much. What was kind of your 5 years into AEW? What's your kind of feeling about AEW going into this show? Not just about the show itself, but just about the product, where it is, how far it's come. Like, just how do you rate AEW right now as a company?
This question, but when you said that, the immediate 2 words that came to mind were growing pains. We have run into an organization and a wrestling company that is struggling to support itself under its own weight in a lot of ways. There's a lot of people at the top that they aren't like focusing on the way that I think that they should. And there's a lot of people on the bottom that aren't getting the time that they need. And it has been a very ambitious plan and they have seen some things through to success. And there are things that have completely blown up in their face. We're always going to wonder the what ifs regarding CM Punk and how, conversation I had tonight was basically maybe one of the biggest stories of all time when you really think about like the business shift that it caused, even more so than Cody. So, I mean, to put it kindly, growing pains. You're going to learn from the mistakes that you make and hopefully not repeat those mistakes or self-inflict any more wounds to yourself.
Yeah.
But with that, I think we have a really good company and it delivers great pay-per-views. I'm just not sure that you need to see the weekly television based off of the way that their company is built.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about that lately. I don't watch it as closely as I did when I was doing a show about it every week. I regularly miss Collision and don't feel bad about it because I can always just go back and go back and catch something if I missed it. And what it reminds me of is the glory black and gold days of NXT when NXT Takeovers was my favorite product on earth.
Mm-hmm.
And but the show itself was very skippable. And I just knew, hey, once every couple of months or once a month or however long they did them, I'd get an incredible NXT takeover that wasn't too long. It was, just spectacular. And that was all I needed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's starting to be how this kind of feels.
Yes.
But even tonight was the first night I've ever felt like, I'm not really sure how to phrase it, that the pay-per-view felt too much like a TV show to me.
Everything that you needed to know about AEW, you were given on this pay-per-view. And if you do not watch Dynamite and you do not watch anything until the next pay-per-view, you will miss nothing. And I honestly believe that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like I watched everything from here to there, and you have these great mixed tag matches, and you have this great build, but everything that you needed to see on Dynamite regarding, say, Willow and Mercedes, they showed you in a great video package. They finally showed you that New Japan footage that they haven't been showing you on any of the TV until Collision last night, and then the go home, Double or Nothing preview show that they do, the stuff that they should have been doing 9 months ago. The stuff that they should have been laying the groundwork. My frustration with that, we'll get to that later on, even though that was one of my favorite matches, is like, how much bigger could it have been had they dedicated the resources at the time with the idea that this match was something that they could do later on.
Yeah. All right. Well, because it's such a long show, let's go ahead and dive into it. And
sure.
As we can meander as needed as if any topics come up that we want to talk about. You said you did make it to the pre-show.
Yes, I watched everything.
What did you think of Jeff Jarrett as a pre-show analyst?
He was fine. Like everyone, there's this renaissance of appreciation for Jeff Jarrett. And it's like, if you have had any legacy in the wrestling business and then you are around and about and healthy in 2024, you're like, God damn, that guy did something right. And,
and exactly.
And it's just like, you just want to think about, like, Jeff Jarrett's fine. It's like, if you're not a wrestling fan and you saw this guy on your TV, you're like, who's this old dude with the long hair? And you might be charmed by him, you might not be, but he's purely fan service for the dedicated wrestling fan.
He's just the one thing about him is he is just a extremely competent professional wrestler in every aspect of the game. So you put him on a pre-show panel, he's going to know every storyline, he's going to drop every phrase, he's going to say it's whose house, Swerve's house, like he's going to do everything, but he's not going to bring anything. The one thing that annoyed me was him talking about, look at this arena, as like all the people are filing in because it's still an hour and a half before the show. Talking about
promotional.
talking about Swerve. Was it Swerve? I can't remember who it was. He was talking about
everybody.
Yeah, he was talking about a big match, and he was like, the pressure of the match, and he's like, MGM Garden Arena doesn't get any bigger than this. And I was like, actually, it literally does.
Hold up.
Like the T-Mobile on the street is bigger than this. But hey, that's why I'm like, what a worker.
I'm a little worried. I don't know if they can do Double or Nothing in Vegas next year. Like, if you thought the turnout, like, I'm not sure they hit 10,000. Did they? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, that part of it kind of concerns me. It's like, I just don't know what they were able to accomplish with this show. And so, like, the turnout, I know I went to the last two, and after I left last year's show, I was like, they really have to, like, be on fire for me to want to come back and do this next year, because doing Vegas is tough. It's financially tough. The energy, I'm a little bit of an introvert, so going out there, it's just like, oh God, like, I have to do what?
Right.
I love all these people, but no, I can't do this all the time.
Yeah.
But they do it next year, and with WWE coming in April, that's a tough ask, and they might have to think about doing Atlantic City or something else, like another.
That's a good thought if they want to keep the gambling theme.
Yeah, just keep another casino themed area going. But man, I don't know. I think we can put a cap on the 5-year era of Double or Nothing in Vegas and slow that one down a little bit.
Yeah, they got nothing to prove. And then that even there's the discussion of moving All Out from Chicago, from the traditional All Out thing. Like, it may just be time where it's like Tony has to say, you know what, I can't be sentimental about this stuff anymore.
No, Like,
you know,
you don't know what his next deals are going to be, and he's getting more and more stars and paying more and more money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the time of spending big to get big rewards is that window's kind of closed.
Yeah.
And it feels like you kind of have to tighten up and keep the guys that are going to get the audience to come back, and then maybe not have quite so many of the others that you're not so sure we can turn into the next big star.
Right. So. All right, so first match on the pre-show was Thunder Rosa and Deonna Purrazzo, and Thunder came out in the obligatory someone has to come out in an Elvis gimmick thing, so she knocked that out right away, but she looked great. Crowd was split 50-50. It was, decent match. They you could tell they're people who can let loose a little bit on each other. They weren't like, they were kind of laying it in a little bit. So things were hitting a little harder than normal, but Deonna got a pin with the roll up and a hand on the rope. I was totally confused. I actually thought Thunder was pinning her when the finish happened, but I guess I was still in pre-show mode, not really paying attention.
She had done the rollover, and then when she kicked off the rope, and then Deonna used her hand and pulled it down to gain more leverage. But this was a totally serviceable wrestling match. It's exactly what you would see on Collision or Rampage or the second to last match on Dynamite.
Yeah, felt like very appropriate for a pre-show. I felt like
made sense that Deonna gets the win. They need to heat her up.
Oh, absolutely.
I felt so bad for any woman that was not named Willow or Mercedes on this show.
Yeah.
Because, you want to make time and make room for these women, but when this audience was here, it was fighting tooth and nail to get them to care about some of the matches. Because you knew that they were here for very specific matches.
Right. And I can't complain about it because it is a feud that is beyond the title, which we'll get into a little more later. So anytime you have an actual program where two women don't like each other, and it's not just the two title divisions, that's a step forward in the world of AEW.
And I mean, it makes them feel more important to put this on the 0 hour, which is what you have to do. But there are just nights where it's just not going, where it's going to be an uphill battle rather than the audience is going to will you to succeed through your match.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was the kind of night it was.
Yep. And then Martha Hart and her hat came out with Tony Khan for the traditional greeting of the fans. Martha,
I love her hats, man.
I love that. I love the tradition.
I clowned it first year. What's she wearing? Tony Khan wore the silly hat. The same.
Yeah.
We're at year 3 now. Bring it on.
Yeah.
Lean all in on these hats, lady.
I wish the people in Calgary, for the finals, would treat it like the Kentucky Derby and go to everybody wear the hats. Out of me with this. Yeah.
Make this a thing. That's the kind of tradition and yes, that is the kind of tradition that you need to start instilling in AEW, where you have the Owen Hart and everyone wears their hats for the final, just in honor of Martha
love
Hart.
it. Yeah,
that's the kind of thing that we need to be doing.
Yes, we do for sure. So they announced the Owen will be happening again this year. The finals will be at the Calgary Saddle Dome during the Calgary Stampede in July. I forgot the date. I think the 14th or something like that, maybe. But then they added that I love this detail. Tony Khan said he was chatting with Martha on Christmas Eve, and Martha suggested on this Christmas Eve phone call that they make the winner of the Owen Cups get title shots. They want to raise the stakes. So Tony said, that's a great idea. Let's do it where the winners of that get world title matches at Wembley, at All In. We've been calling for this for a while, raising the stakes of the Owen. So good move, but bad timing because the King and Queen of the Ring just did that, which in my mind, what little I know about Tony Khan makes me think that he threw in that line about Christmas just to establish the fact that he thought of it before WWE did.
He got swooped on his own plan.
Yeah.
He had every opportunity up to this point to do this. And the minute they had that King of the Ring and Queen of the Ring tournament, he should have called his shot to make sure it was clear that that's what they were doing.
Yeah. Yep.
When Sean Paul Levesque got to go on to that show on Friday and announce that the winners were getting their title shots at at SummerSlam, and then I saw this announcement tonight. I died laughing. It was just one of those like moments where you're just like, you can't like, fuck, man, they got outplayed so hard on this book. It's a cool idea. I love it, but when people are dialed in across WWE and AEW and make this connection, it's like, this is the black eye. This is the kind of stuff that gets in Tony Khan's head. This is the real estate that fucks with him.
Because I fully believe that he had this idea a long time ago. That he had been saying next year it's going to be for a world title shot at All In. And when he saw that happen, it ate him up.
It's calling shotgun with your sibling, and then the other person just jumped right in.
Right.
Sorry.
Exactly. Sorry, Tony.
Sorry.
You got big brother.
I was here first.
Yeah. Totally got big brothers. Oh well, still though, it's good. And the other thing is, number one, it gives stakes to an ongoing tournament that plays out on TV. And number two, it gives a great, it makes that event a bigger deal in Calgary. And also books 2 world title matches 6 weeks before their pay-per-view, which requires promotion, which is a nice thing.
Very similar to the New Japan Cup. Win or go home every round. You cannot fuck around with who's in this tournament.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Like, you cannot put Daniel Garcia in this tournament. I'm sorry. You cannot put him in this tournament. You can put, I don't know if you put any of the title holders in there. I don't know if you put Copeland in there.
How many guys do they usually do? 8? Is it usually an 8?
You might be able to pull 16 off, but I feel like 8, given like his inability to schedule these matches and then pushing them off here and there, everywhere, just to get the thing. Like, you have to have 8 top level guys. Like, it has to be adjacent to the King of the Ring, where like you might have one rookie in there that might go far.
Yeah.
But in all honesty, these are your 2 title matches at your biggest show of the year.
Right.
And you're calling your shot 2 months ahead of time saying, this is what's happening. This is how it's going to be. If Bryan Danielson and Okada and all these guys are not in this thing, people are going to have questions about it.
Yeah.
It's like you're looking at Swerve and the field is open. With Swerve as the champion, the field is open for anyone to be that person. It's a perfect opportunity for MJF to get screwed by Adam Cole at some point to set up a feud for them, to reheat it. We'll get to that at some point. But what I'm saying is like, do not fuck around with the 8 people that you put in this tournament. Do not insult like their intelligence. If you are afraid that somebody's going to lose, fuck it. Don't care. This is a big deal. This is your biggest show. This is where you set up the hierarchy of who's on top and where you're going with it. And if the talent doesn't like it, then they're not on board with AEW. They're on board with themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And then great, they're not in the tournament. Like one of the things
but that's the problem though. If you have a good star and they're not and they're refusing to do jobs and they won't do a job to a certain guy, and it's just like, you need to book a winner and you need to make them look as strong as you can. Yeah, this is the litmus test of who's Team AEW in real life and who's in it for themselves, because this is your biggest show of the year.
So who would you pick to push through?
Fuck, I don't even know.
Just today, just top of the head. Hangman? I think Hangman Swerve at All In would be the match.
I think MJF.
MJF would be.
I think MJF is the guy that you kind of have to like point in the direction. Ospreay, who won tonight? Like, you have this announcement of the winner, and you have all these single matches. If they you had Ospreay win, right? You had Copeland win. I don't even know if Copeland will be able to wrestle.
I don't know if Copeland's. Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like there's no real way to look at the landscape of who won tonight and figure out who's who's the number one contender for Swerve Strickland right now.
Right.
That's kind of bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who would you?
Who would I put through?
Who would you have wrestle Swerve Strickland? Would you have Adam Cole wrestle him?
No. I'm very down on Adam Cole right now, though. Probably more than he deserves.
Okay. What about Bryan Danielson? Do you think he's got Nigel lined up?
I think that may, you know what, I don't. I think Nigel has that lined up. I don't know if that's really going to happen.
Okay.
I could see if they were to add like a TV show in England or something, them doing a match in England, but I don't know if you would do All In. But then who knows? I mean, Bryan Danielson's just, he's doing fantasy camp for this year, so he's just going to do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
My pick would have been my
rule him out of. I have currently ruled him out of any title picture.
Yeah, my pick, probably at the beginning of the year, was for Danielson to go in as champion. But that's just not how they're using him right now. They're just using.
That's not how he wants to be used right now.
No, that's not how he wants to be used. I'm kind of falling into the camp of this not being the year Will Ospreay wins in the main event, and I think it looks like they're gonna do the Orange Cassidy run with him just having bangers to defend that international title and probably defending that title in Wembley and having that be his big all-in moment for a year. I think MJF is strong, but it seems like MJF's still going to be a babyface, but he could turn between now and then. Easy.
I think MJF would not want to lose to Swerve if he had the title, but he would be okay to lose to Swerve if he was challenging for the title.
Yeah.
I think there's an optics to that like you can get around, but if it were the other way around, we would not be entertaining that idea.
Yeah. Other than that, man, I think Hangman coming back. Hangman is always tricky because Hangman never has 100% of a run. Like no push of Hangman ever ends up. There's always something comes up. He's got to disappear for a while. It's hard to do a real sustained push with him. But I think that match is going to be big.
I'm not sure if that's fair. It's like there's times where yes, they have made a contract with each other. But there are times where I'm not sure AEW is as committed to Hangman as Hangman is committed to AEW. Like Hangman shows up for work and he does his job when he's asked to do it. And he has to do some pretty shitty things.
Yeah.
And he's still done it.
Yeah.
But it does seem like when it was time for AEW to get behind Hangman Adam Page, they did not fully get behind Hangman Adam Page.
Yeah. And I don't mean that to be a aspersion on him. Like it's his fault. Just for whatever reason, even this last run, something happens and it always gets like
truncated.
Yeah, that's the right word. Truncated. Yeah.
I'm
I do think a Swerve Hangman match is coming and it'll be pretty big when it does.
That I've been beating the drum that they have unfinished business, but I also am not necessarily sure that Hangman needs to lose another match to him. Like
that's true.
There is an aspect to when they have another match, there has to be some level of Hangman gets the one up, maybe a dirty pin or whatever, but that would be 0-3, and Swerve is the man, but they don't treat him like that. If that makes any sense.
No, yeah. All right, well, we'll see. We'll
double back.
We'll hold off on any. We'll hold off any hardcore picks yet. Nothing's locked in. I'm going to skip the 6-man pre-show because it's the Acclaimed, and I'm just tired of even seeing them on the TV miss list talking about him.
Long in the tooth, Max Caster looked uncomfortable to me on the show in the promo, and the quicker that Anthony Bowens is able to divest himself from that gimmick and do something different, I think
100%
will be best for all involved.
Yes.
And I don't wish Max Caster any ill will, but there is a shelf life to how many times he can say something gross or act gross and me just be like, oh, well, it's just what he does.
Yep. And that act used to be great. And then they made Billy Gunn the center of it. And he was the center of the match tonight, pretty much.
Yeah.
And he's just a dinosaur. Same thing with him. Just, anyway, yeah. I'm just tired of them.
There are things that they have focused on, and the audience has told them through the ratings that this is not what they're into.
Yeah.
But they are so hard up to react to the live audience that does show up.
Yep.
that
And it's an easy button to press.
When the Acclaim gets that reaction, they think it will translate to more viewers. And it doesn't.
It doesn't.
But we are in that gray area of the slow realization. And, you know, that's what AEW is a series of slow realizations, good and bad, as most of the audience, it dawns on them what's actually happening.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Main show.
Sure.
Kick it off with a bang with Will Ospreay. Great entrance, great reception. The crowd woke up when he came in, and then he made sure they woke up by kicking it off hot by going after Roddy Strong right away. Let's see, Roddy came out with Taven and Bennett, as he usually does, and Wardlow was not there, and Adam Cole was not there, which is normal for them. Will drove the pace a lot. The crowd was all in. They were ready to chant. They chanted. They sang Ospreay songs. They chanted "Bruv." And then the match slowed down when they did an insane spot that was one of the first of a few times that I thought, are you guys idiots?
Yes.
When they picked up Will Ospreay and did a diving doomsday device from the ring to the floor. Will Ospreay did a kind of a 360, maybe a 270, and looked like he just landed right on his head. When I missed it when it happened because I was getting a drink or something, and I saw people react to it, and so I went back and looked at it. It did not look as bad on replay.
No.
He took it really well, and the camera was in a good place to make it look worse than it was. But for a second there,
entirely planned.
Yeah.
Because immediately afterwards, the intention was to work Will's head and neck.
Yes.
For a majority of the match. So I thought about it first. I'm like, oh, that was a gnarly looking botch. Yeah. But it looked like Will actually adjusted to break his fall to try and look as close to him hitting his face on the mat as possible. There are a very small percentage of people that can do this move and come away the next morning being okay. Will Ospreay is one of these people.
He is one of those people who has a complete sense of where his body is at every time.
Yes. Unbelievable.
Yeah, really. And, you know, the match was very good. Roderick is very good. One of the things I wrote down is Roddy is probably one of the best wrestlers who never gets me to care about him. It's not always been the case, but like every time I watch him, I think, God, he's so good. Why don't I care more?
Clinical respect, no personal appreciation.
Right. Yes. Yes. Let's see.
Tremendous clinical respect. That dude can go. But he just
it makes it look easy.
He is a vacuum of charisma. He not only like, and I like, this is just the truth. Okay. Like, for whatever reason, he is unable to exude a charisma about around him in which he is able to be as big a personality as the person in the ring with him.
Even in the ring, his face is just sort of nondescript. He's not, you know, even like a similar person would be like a Kyle O'Reilly, but Kyle O'Reilly has a great face. Malenko. Yeah, he is, but he doesn't have that gravitas.
But Malenko like he has that like blank look, like he is. Yeah, you can't read his face when he is breaking you and making you cry. Yeah, like you know what I mean. Like there is the bruiser aspect of it, but he is unable to translate that aspect of it, where he is almost sociopathic about what he is doing to you. Rather, it just looks blank and aloof. And I know that's not what he's trying to do. But that's what happened.
It'd be interesting if he leaned into that instead of, you know. Anyway, very good technical match. Will got people into it just because he's so over. And then then the storytelling kicked in. I've been thinking a lot about this. I've been thinking of working on, this is a little personal project of mine, of proposing like a story Bible for AEW. Of like ground rules for their storytelling and stuff. Probably won't ever do it, but it's something I think about when I'm watching these matches, because one of the things they did in this is becoming a trope, which is the ref has discretion to pause the match to allow a doctor to come check on somebody during a match. And it's something they're doing.
That was the one that bothered you?
Yeah. That one, here's the thing about it. It doesn't bother me.
Okay.
There's something about a ref checking, and I'm like, you know what? How could this work? Is there a way to put this into pro wrestling? The problem is they do it sometimes and not others. So like Roddy is down. I don't remember exactly what the move is. And the ref waves Will away. Will's trying to decide if he's going to go in for the kill like he did on Danielson. Callis comes up to him, urges him to do the Tiger Driver. Ospreay fires up his killer instinct, goes for it. Did he back off or did he?
He pulled him up and he put him in the position.
And he hesitated.
Then he brought him down and said, no, I can't do it. Roddy broke through and got behind him and then began a sequence in
which was a great sequence because then he did the thing where he threw him up for the end of Heartbreak. And Ospreay flipped out of it and immediately hit a hidden blade, then hit the Stormbreaker for the pin. So the finish was great, but it depends on this trope of someone waving off to check on someone. And there's something interesting about that. I'd like to see if people could figure out how to, use that as a storytelling trope that's consistent.
I think what is unsettling is that the implication is that when you bring a doctor in and you're looking at the person and you are leaning towards continuing the match, you are silently telling the audience that you care more about the match continuing than you do about the health and well-being of your performers. And it is a slightly unsettling and disquieting feeling that they are trying to elevate the drama without realizing that they're actively making their audience uneasy by participating in what some might enjoy, like the actual physical pain of others. Most people are not here for that.
Right.
You know, it's like they don't, So I don't know if they keep that in mind when they're trying to push the envelope of what the audience is here to see and enjoy. And I personally, I'm at the point where I've seen enough wrestling and I've watched it enough where, I've watched a person die in the ring and it's really fucking upsetting. And I still watch this stuff. So please don't put us in a position, thank you, of, reliving traumatic things that you don't want to see, including wrestlers that you tremendously enjoy or that you find clinically that you respect in the ring, at least, not thinking that, you've seen the last move that they've ever done in the ring. That's not what I want out of every other pay-per-view having one match where that happens. Yeah. It's like, I'm just not, that's a pace and a frequency that turns me off.
Yep. I agree. And it's interesting that they have this ongoing thing with Ospreay that what Danielson did wasn't just Danielson playing around, but is actually setting up a long-term story with Will and his killer instinct. So
I will say in this match, I was thoroughly annoyed by the outside interference by Taven, Bennett, and eventually Wardlow.
Yes. But
I had to respect that it all made sense with the next segment.
A bit. Let's go ahead and get to that. So, immediately after the match ends, Ospreay goes back. The Undisputed Kingdom all hang their head in shame and go back to the locker room. And pretty much almost immediately, Adam Cole's music hits, his original music, not the new Undisputed music. Comes out, does the full entrance. He's dressed in street clothes, no brace on his foot or anything. Takes the mic, immediately goes into story time. Does kind of a by the numbers, a little bit of what he's doing before, holds out the devil mask, talks about how there's a little devil in all of us. Kind of seems like, I think the whole crowd knows where he's going and where this whole thing's going. And they're kind of you can kind of feel the electricity build a little bit, even though it's not really him doing it. You're just sort of realizing that what's going to happen next. And sure enough, a video starts. We go through the house, like a video is like going through the house. It appears to be filmed by the subject of the video. He's going into first person perspective. First person perspective. Goes into a room of memorabilia, where it looks like MJF has kept a
dog collar
basically
chain.
a prop, right, from every major match he's had.
Yeah, the Nightmare Family. He had the dog collar chain. What was the other one that he had? Was it the it was the tank from the Danielson match.
Oh, yes.
It was the tank from the Danielson match.
Yep.
And then in the middle of the room, he had a mannequin with the scarf.
With the scarf. And I thought, he's going to take the scarf off and put it on, as if he's going to put it on, and then he'll come out. No. The real music hits, and that place popped like I haven't heard an AEW crowd pop in a long time. Went crazy for that music. And MJF comes out not in a scarf,
no,
but in total Triple H cosplay. 2002 Triple
Amazing.
H, Madison Square Garden, when he came back from the torn quads. Amazing.
Triple MJF.
That's what we're gonna call. Yeah, that's amazing, because he did look jacked too. He came out in that leather. Yeah, his hair's he's tanned, rested, and ready, and he's been cutting. I mean, he was cut.
And he you know what else he did? He locked and loaded the greatest hits of all the best promos, and then unloaded.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He had a lot. He had a lot stored up. He came out. He met Cole in the ring, and they kind of teased the hug it out thing, which I think some people were like, ruined it for them already, that he would even tease that based on, what he had done to him. But I'm like, that's pro wrestling. Did the classic MJF kick to the groceries. Cole drops out, picks him up, drops him with a brain buster, and basically clears the ring of the garbage. Cole's just gone, and MJF cuts the promo. Before we get to the promo, I didn't take too many notes on that. What was your read on what they were doing with Cole there? Because that was definitive.
It wasn't definitive to me.
Okay.
It was, we have to get through everything that we needed to do over the last 9 months to get where we need to go for the next 2 months.
Yeah.
Like MJF couldn't come out there and not get his immediate comeuppance on Adam Cole. You know what I mean? Like they come out there and then Adam Cole runs away or anything like that. Man, MJF looks like a dork. Like MJF had to come out there. He had to beat some ass. He had to cut the promo. He had to look like the biggest star in the room at the beginning of the show so that everyone could forget about him when the world champion came out at the end of the show, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And to me, I thought these two are going to have a match at All In.
Okay.
That is the biggest match for both of them. And that is a triumphant, a year later from when he broke his foot, and they can build to all of that. And that to me just seemed like what they needed to do. Did it seem like they were burying Adam Cole? Yes. Does it matter? No. Adam Cole is Adam Cole, and you will get your heat back on that dude, especially when MJF within probably the next 5 weeks makes it clear that he wants a title shot, does everything to get that title shot, and at the most inopportune moment, Adam Cole in the Undisputed Kingdom cost him his title shot, and then he proceeds to go through all of the Undisputed Kingdom en route to facing Adam Cole, much like the trials that MJF would put.
Yes, the trials of MJF, yes.
Hopefully they don't do that, because they have done and buried everything that MJF has done up to the past. Yeah. It seems like they have, rechristened him in some sort of way as a new version in which all the bullshit in the past, let's see what they think is bullshit, before we get too far.
Well, yeah, exactly. They definitely left it a little open, but he pretty much explicitly, a little bit of a mea culpa in a very MJF way of
owning what people did not like.
Owning what people didn't like, and basically said, we're not going to do that anymore.
Yes. No more kangaroo punches. No more broachachos.
I am sad to lose the kangaroo kick. The kangaroo kick was over with me, but
come back one day. These are all things that people will pop for in 5 years when it happens at a random show, and people are like, "Oh, you remember the kangaroo kick?"
Yeah. Well, he did a lot of business. He addressed basically everything, every complaint everyone's had about him and the story and Cole and all that. and then climaxed with, and I thought this promo ended a couple of times, but then he would soak in the crowd and talk a little more. And then he brought up the bidding war of 24, not explicitly, but basically said, hey, if you're still wondering about that storyline I haven't mentioned in a long time, here's the answer. Pulled up his pant leg to reveal a tattoo that said, always bet on yourself, or something like that, and with an AEW logo. Lots of analysis on this of how old it looked, had it been, it looked like it had been there a while and was not fresh.
All I know is that he wears boots that covers up that tattoo, so it doesn't matter if he goes to WWE. There's no, I know somebody in the Discord, I don't know who it was, who said, like, would have been braver if he put it on his neck.
Put it on his neck, yeah. That would have been amazing. But he said he's AEW and did a deep, not a total deep pull, but quoted the Wolf of Wall Street. Said he's the Wolf of Wrestling, and quoted Leonardo DiCaprio in the Wolf of Wall Street, triggering memes everywhere. Not going anywhere, and people loved that. They loved him. He was way over, and tons of WWE tribalists rolled their eyes everywhere because he basically announced himself as a mark.
There have been 2 promos this year that were way too long, and at a point in a show we're like, okay, let's get this moving.
Yeah.
And it was
the second thing on the show.
This promo, and then the Young Bucks and Jack Perry assaulting Eddie Kingston to hype up this pay-per-view on a New Japan pay-per-view 4.5 hours into a 5-hour show on a Saturday night on Mother's Day weekend.
Right.
Those 2 shows, like, this show did not need to be over 5 hours with the pre-show. No. Yeah. And, like, we are in an epidemic of, like, I love wrestling, but there are times where I don't need to be every month 5 hours.
No.
Get your money's worth. I get it.
And I still don't. WWE has kind of become a little bit of that NXT thing where it's not.
Oh, they figured it out.
Yeah, they've dialed it in. What works right now?
Half a dozen matches under 3 hours. Cut the fat. Perfect.
Yep. And it helps to go to these Europe crowds that are just crazy, insane for them. Or not Europe, but international.
Like, I'm okay if you cut 2 matches off these shows.
Oh, absolutely.
Honestly,
At least.
Okay with that. Like, you might get more buys because people get intimidated. Like, yeah, $50, but I don't have 5 hours to watch it. I don't want to spend the money if I'm not going to be able to finish the whole show. Yeah. Like, there's a legitimate thought to that.
Here's the other thing, though. When they do have 5 hours to show that stuff on TV the week before the pay-per-view.
Ooh.
So, like, Saturday night before Sunday, put some of those, make the collision before a pay-per-view like the equivalent of like a Saturday Night's Main Event or something like that. Like they could have done Tony and totally went blank just now. I got to look up Tony and Serena. They could have done pick 2 matches from this and make those pay-per-view weeks like, hey, the whole week of TV is important. You're going to see big matches all week long, but the top 7 or 8 are going to be on the pay-per-view.
Yes. Like make Double or Nothing week with Collision. And, it's like if you wanted to put, Deanna and fucking Thunder Rosa on that show, and then, it's like, you're not going to deprive having Will on a pay-per-view, but, like you can still do a tag match with them and a couple of other like matches on this card. That fucking Jericho match did not need to be on this pay-per-view.
No.
That could have been on Collision last night. Yeah. And we all could have, clowned it there. We didn't need it tonight.
Right. All right,
what else
moving
we got
forward.
On the show?
Yeah.
Crowd died for this next one. I feel bad.
Crowd died for that. Basically, the next 2 matches were a long bathroom break of people probably just talking about MJF. Death Triangle versus the Bang Bang Gang. About what you'd expect. I thought it was. I'm not the hugest Lucha Brothers fan because I think Phoenix is all over the place, but it was really good to see them back doing their thing.
There's a manic kinetic energy with the Death Triangle that when you get them in a match and you have people that can do the cardio to match them.
Mm-hmm.
You have a lot of fun, and it is the prototypical party match.
Yeah, this really was just total party match. Kind of a blur. I didn't even really take a lot of notes, but the big thing was we saw the return of No Way Jose to help out the Bang Bang Gang up the win, and then I realized quickly, oh, that's not No Way Jose, that's just Juice Robinson.
I know Brad Ryder in the Discord was sniffing this one out pretty early, but there was something I was in and out of the Discord. There was something about watching this match and thinking like, the Death Triangle and Pac should really beat these guys. There should be like some type of equalizer to get them the other hand. I wonder if Juice is almost ready.
Yeah.
I asked somebody in the room, and they're like, "Yeah, he should be fine." I'm like, "Oh, hey." And then like 5 minutes later, oh, look at that. And then I saw on the Discord that Brad had sniffed that out.
Yeah.
And so just want to give that guy the tip of the cap for being aware of what's going on in the wrestling world, included and able to see the writing on the wall for that one.
Yep. Was good to see him. I look forward. Yeah, it was good. It was very enjoyable. If it didn't happen, you probably wouldn't have missed it, but it was fun.
I absolutely love Juice Robinson, and I'm glad that he's back. And
Me
I
too.
think that he is going to add something to the Bang Bang Gang that has been sorely missing.
Absolutely. Welcome back. All right.
Oh,
next we have
real quick on the Bang Bang Gang. Have they gotten rid of the Bullet Club branding on that completely? Are they?
I have not seen them. I have not seen them use it in a graphic. Occasionally, someone might slip up and mention it, but I think they just sort of sneaky retired it about probably in the last 6-8 weeks.
Okay, because I don't like the jazz music thing that they have, but I never really quite all of a sudden I just never saw the Bullet Club Gold anymore, and I was like,
yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to change your line of
thinking. No. If you go to the roster page, they're listed as Bang Bang Gang now, so I think it's official. They've decided to own the gimmick, I guess, instead of figuring out
not pay New Japan any money and continue to choke their finances. Cool, whatever.
Exactly. They're on a budget, as we found out later.
Sure, couldn't just throw them a couple extra bucks for that trademark, whatever.
Right. Okay, Toni Storm versus Serena Deeb, one of the most unfortunate builds of the last several weeks. Toni Storm continues to just gobble up baby faces like she's Bray Wyatt, and poor Serena.
She wore that shirt that said Deeb or nothing, and I knew it was going to be nothing, and I felt so bad.
It's going to be nothing. No. And the crowd was not having it. No. There was an interesting theory. This is where the wardrobe lore content began in the Discord. There's some heavy wardrobe lore happening where we were discussing Mariah's gimmick of dressing like Toni, and I floated the theory that she's been dressing different eras of Toni and updating her outfit, passing through Toni's career, and now tonight she dressed as exactly as Toni now, signifying that she's about to surpass her.
I thought there was some Mina in there.
There is some Mina in there. Whenever Mina shows up, she drifts toward the Mina side.
There's a little bit of Mina in that outfit too.
Yeah, they put a lot of thought into their outfits a few times.
This match was fine. It suffered from the audience not knowing who to cheer and boo, and simply just sticking to the gimmick that they were familiar with.
Yeah,
and
they knew who they wanted to cheer and boo.
And the wrestlers themselves were not willing to commit to what the audience was what the audience was dictating the match to be.
Yes, Deeb did not pick up on what she should have done. I thought she should have. She very easily could have leaned into going against that crowd and playing into who she's very comfortable being, and she did not. She tried to be the white meat baby face, and it just did not work. She got booed for it. It just she came out of this match less over than she went in. Match was a fine. Toni's dialed it in to where she's figured out how to be Toni Storm and still do the gimmick. So that's good. There was this weird tease of Mariah wanting to throw in the towel and Luther stopping her, and then Luther getting blamed for having the towel. So they're starting to kind of lean into that. Who's manipulating who?
I do not like that there is very similar overtones to MJF and Cody from 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have MJF telling you we are going away from the past earlier in the show, and then all of a sudden you have someone doing the same kind of gimmick that MJF was doing 5 years ago, it's like, what message are you sending here? You know?
Yeah. Well, I tell you, MJF doesn't give a rip what Mariah made.
No, but it's like
he's
you're all booking the same show together. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly. Although
this
I think
match was exhibit A for me. In what I told you earlier about how you can watch a pay-per-view to pay-per-view, and you would actually have benefited if you did not watch any Dynamite, Rampage, or Collision if you went into this match cold. You'd be like, what's going on? You'd see the video package, and you would not have been confused by the flip-flopping throughout the entire feud of who was a babyface and who was a heel. When I say that the TV in between these pay-per-views may not be required viewing, this is one of the biggest examples.
Yeah, you're right. It was actually a detriment if you watched it along the way.
Absolutely. You were
finish was great though.
On. Yeah.
The finish was awesome. Did a Storm Zero off the top rope and then another Storm Zero. That woke the crowd up.
Why did they do the second Storm Zero?
Oh, great point. I don't know.
I thought that it was just give Serena Deeb some face, that the top one wasn't going to put her away. And you had to do a little bit extra, but I thought it was pointless.
Yeah,
you do that second to top rope.
Right, that is the extra.
That's the final. Like, you put her down after that, and you get the pin. It makes you look like your move doesn't get it.
Right,
and it's
a hat on a hat.
It's absolutely. It's just the extra, and I was like, should have been. It was just too much. Like at the extra.
Yep.
It was great. Like they did the best that they could do, but they overthought so much trying to win the crowd over.
Yeah. Yep. Nothing really notable in the post match that I recall. They just sort of went along their way.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if Mariah is going to go through the Open and win the Open. The Owen. She's kind of my pick to win the Owen.
She should be in a prominent spot at All In. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's I feel more comfortable picking her. Yeah.
Unless it's Hater, they could have the surprise Hater thing, but I don't know if Mariah May is ready for that big spot at a big show like that. That is a big ask, and she has not even really had one.
It is, but they appear to be very invested in her.
Absolutely, but they also don't want her to fail.
Yeah.
So like, do you have enough confidence in her? Does she have enough confidence in herself that it's like, are you ready? Is it go time? I don't know.
Yeah.
All signs point to like strap a rocket to this wrestler. She is the goods, right?
Yeah.
But you still have to make sure that you do not. It's like a pitcher in the big leagues when they're not quite ready. They're not, the seasoning isn't there yet. Like you don't want to ruin them before they're ready for the big time.
Yeah, I'll be you know what I'm really interested to see is what they do with her on Forbidden Door. I'm wondering if they're going to do a
tag with Mina.
See, I was wondering if it was going to be a tag with Tony against Club Venus.
You can do a six woman. All three.
Oh yeah, they could do that too. Yeah,
and then
Tony has to tag with Mina, and the little rivalry.
And then they have like they're afraid, like they don't quite see eye to eye kind of thing.
Yeah, I think Forbidden Door is going to be where you really see where the direction of Mariah for the rest of the year, which I'm actually looking forward to. It's one of the storylines that I'm interested in creatively that they're doing.
Yeah,
here's a story that I'm not interested in. I'm sorry. Did you have a thought you want to?
No, I've had a hard time getting into the Tony Storm gimmick. I think the Mariah May thing is going to be an accessibility point for a lot of people, but I understand why the women's division is maybe not lighting the world on fire as much as they'd hoped it would.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you got next?
A story I'm not interested in, which is Trent Beretta versus Orange Cassidy.
He lost again.
Trent. Yeah. In a straight up wrestling match.
Tell me why I should care after Trent Beretta lost a straight wrestling match again.
Because he had new gear.
No. Tell me why I should care.
You shouldn't.
Oh my gosh.
There's no answer to that.
This was a 5-hour show. Why was this on the show?
Yeah, there's no reason for this to be on. This could have been pre-show.
This was a reward for Trent Beretta. It's like, hey, we're going to give you your pay-per-view match. Like, we are invested in you. We want to make sure that you are given the opportunities that we haven't given you up to this point. We believe in you. We're going to give you this pay-per-view match. The show was 5 fucking hours long. This match did not need to be on it.
No, and what could they here? I have trouble even figuring out what they could possibly be doing with Trent right now. Like, why did they even do this?
If he's got to be joining, it's got to be some Callis like thing, right? He was all over the show as well.
Yeah, but why? But why would Callis want this loser?
I don't know. Like, what? Why was this? Why?
Yeah, I don't know.
Why anything?
He just straight up won. They had more wardrobe lore, as Orange Cassidy wore the dark denim and a black T-shirt, which X noted. That was so there was a lot of going to the dark side on this show. They also played the old Pixies music.
Yes.
Which
it all kind of went over my head. Like, yes and no. Like, they did the music and they did everything, and it was just like everything was so subtle.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, when you do subtle and you do like the quiet simmering that these guys did, you fail to exude the misery and hate and contempt that they really had for each other. Yeah. And I felt like that was missing from the match.
Right.
Like that extra intensity. And I know that they were trying for it.
Yeah.
But with Orange's gimmick as it is, it's really hard to do.
Yeah. And that's what's weird about doing what they did with like the music and everything, because it's like, oh, well, usually when you do something like that, it signifies of like with Adam later, like it's like, oh, this is symbolic of like them going back to their roots or their gritty old days or something like that. And it's like, well, yeah, when Orange Cassidy is playing Jane to the ring, he's like one of the best champions they've had the last few years. When he does the Pixies, he's the comedy act. So he plays the comedy act music to show how serious, it's like, it makes my overthinking brain overthink too much, and I don't like it.
Like, the whole thing was just like, okay, he's going to beat some ass, and he's going to use the Pixies because people associate it with Fight Club. Cool, good story. You could just have moved on from there.
Right, just done it. That's overthinking it. And I'm someone who loves that stuff. When you like, oh, this gear does that, or that music does that.
The lore and all that stuff is always rewarding. Like, when CM Punk did it that one time.
Yeah. Loved it.
With the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But you have to make sure that you are not just showing, but you're telling the audience in a way that just feels organic to the story and not like, oh, don't forget that this is what happened here. Blah, 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 just, nothing about it felt organic. I guess it's the best way.
No, one thing that did feel organic was the post match when Brett when he's walking out and Renee tried to grab him. You didn't like that?
No,
I liked how they played that. I liked how they played that.
Here's the thing: they have never, in the entirety of AEW, gone to interview a loser after the match to get them their thoughts.
That's true.
They have never fucking done that.
Yeah.
Like, you're telling me that they've
done the winner.
They have done the winner. They have never had Renee Paquette come out to the ring, try and track down the loser, and get thoughts at a pay-per-view about the match that they just lost.
Yeah.
Bullshit. Like, they were trying to
You've convinced me.
and perpetuate this whole story, and they were manufacturing this way to do it. And I was like, you're goddamn right, Trent Beretta doesn't want to talk about this match after. Like, I'm not doing this right now. I'm like, yeah, I'm with you, Trent. Why the fuck is she bothering you? Go talk to Orange in the ring.
Right.
That annoyed me. It really did. At the time, I'm like, why are you doing this?
This whole stretch of the show was a bit of a slog because next was Hook versus Shibata versus Jericho.
This was the worst match on the show by a country mile.
Yes. And so it began with the traditional Hook drops Jericho on his head at the beginning of a match that they've done, I think, every time they've been in the ring together. Since they started this feud. Skipping ahead, Jericho brings in a bag, and as soon as he pulled that bag out, I knew it was Dice. I knew it had to be Dice, and it was. I was right. And that looked awful. Like, I hate I hate thumbtack spots. Thumbtack spots to me are like, I get that probably hurts a lot. How does it help you win a match? I've never understood how, like,
Thumbtacks,
a half
dice, any
inch
of that
tiny
stuff.
thing, right. It seems horribly painful. And I know the other thing is to make you cringe. The thing about these dice is it made me cringe, but like, how does it hurt? I mean, it looks like it hurts, but it looks like uncomfortable. And people don't win matches by making people uncomfortable.
Feels like it's gonna dent your skeletal structure.
Yeah, like, you're right. Or you'll fall on one in just the right way that it lodges between your vertebrae and ends your career. Like something something stupid like that. I did laugh when they started throwing the dice at Jericho.
Yes,
just flinging it at him. That was funny to me.
I think Jericho actually had to get checked by the doctors at some point because he disappeared for a few seconds in the match, and then he came back in. But they were a little reckless in the beginning, and they had to be a little careful.
Yeah, and speaking of what you talked about earlier about, like, I'm not interested in seeing them play on my sympathy for, like, the real performers. I still have that cringe factor when I see Shibata. He seems fine, but I worry for him because I'm worried that he keeps pushing himself and pushing himself. And he didn't do anything. He did one thing I thought was stupid. But he's not doing like the crazy headbutts or those things anymore. He seems to be safer in terms of pure wrestling. But this spot they did where they did a Death Valley driver off the turnbuckle onto a table. The table doesn't break. And I saw someone post that 3 men go into a table and they roll into dice instead.
Did you see Jericho get up and go, like, I'm going through the fucking table?
Yeah.
And he's got that thing back up, and he had to put him through that table.
Yes,
and
immediately.
Like, you are.
And then Shibata immediately followed it up with the drop kick. Yeah.
Do you ever think about the fact that it's 2024 and Shibata's doing fucking garbage matches on an AEW pay-per-view?
The surreal world. Yeah.
Like, there's a point where you've accepted that, a guy like Suzuki is going to come and do these matches and all that stuff. Right. But it's like, that there's a world in which just your shelf life in New Japan just fucking ends. Like, you're done doing those kind of matches. Right. And then you come over here and then you end up doing, like, throwing your body into dice and getting pinned while wearing a trash can over the upper half of your body and thinking, you know what? I'm upgraded.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. They're like, this is so much easier.
I've traded one shitty thing for another.
Right. Speaking of trading up, Bounty Hunter appeared. As
Action Andretti 2024.
Yeah. Hit the ring with a mask and a hoodie, took it off to reveal the Bounty Hunter. People kind of popped for that, but then he immediately got kicked out of the ring. Big Bill got T-boned through a table and nearly impaled by the legs just spiking through the wood as he went into that. That was scary as heck. And then Jericho ended up pinning Shibata. So I don't know if that means Bounty Hunter Brian Keith is now in the Jericho Vortex, or was this kind of a one-time thing?
I 1,000% believe he's now part of the Vortex. He went up to Jericho, at Collision or Rampage, and said, "I'm not done with you," kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so you were to think that they were going to have a match, blah, blah, blah. Nope, he's joining. I have a match concept for you, Kevin.
Oh.
You ready for it?
Yeah, I am.
A battle royal to face Chris Jericho, featuring everyone that he's ever taken under his wing in AEW.
Like a 16-man Jericho Vortex match.
I think we might be in 20s at this point. Even for like the cup of coffee people that like one and done.
Right.
Oh my God, there is a match there. We're at 5 years, and he's probably taken 5 different people every year.
Yeah.
So
if you like extend it past that to like people, like you could bring in Paul White.
Sure.
For a spot, you could,
there's a match there, and I'm amused because the cycle repeats, like in Battlestar Galactica. This has all happened before, and it will happen again. Jericho will
time is a flat circle.
Time is a flat circle, man. Jericho will have a few younger members of the roster, and he will do their program. And in everybody's mind, they're going to get the rub, and they're going to be something a little bit bigger than
they're going to beat him, and then he's going to get a title shot.
Here's the deal. If they're gonna rise or fall, it's not because Jericho, it's because they were able to exceed and rise above given what they were given. Yeah. And a couple of these people have been able to do it, but the majority haven't. And that just kind of says, what their career is going to be. Yeah. It's kind of a test.
So what you're saying is Jericho would win this.
Jericho's the gatekeeper.
He would win the Vortex match.
Jericho would win his own match. Well, no, Jericho, the winner has to face Jericho.
Oh, okay. He'd beat the winner.
And then he'd beat the winner.
or he'd lose the winner and then get like a world title shot the next week.
Absolutely.
And the winner of the match would disappear for 6 weeks.
It's called the Christian.
Yeah. Sammy Guevara would be in the match like 3 times.
He's got to have a couple different, different identity changes, the whole deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, we make these jokes because there's nothing to talk about with Jericho. Like, he shows up on the match. He has the obligatory Jericho match. They don't mean anything. They are 10 to 15 minutes of programming every week on AEW. Maybe he'll go on and talk on the commentary. We all get a good laugh. He's doing the correct thing, but when it gets long in the tooth, he's going to jump to something else. Mm-hmm. It's just the Jericho segment of the show.
Yeah, he's like the businessman who never makes money, but he just keeps finding investors to like. He sells off his company and invests in the next one. He never actually turns a profit.
I am fired up. John LaRocca mentioned Jericho would be really well served when we were talking earlier tonight for doing 6 months away or 3 months away. Just taking a break and just being refreshed from the audience. I just don't think that Jericho's willing at this point in his career to give up any time away from the ring.
No, I think he thinks if he goes away for too long, he ain't getting back. Like he'll be back in, but his spot,
his body won't be able. Yeah. His body won't be calloused enough for it.
Yeah.
What was next?
Next, the show kicked into gear finally. We got through that lull, and we saw an IWGP World Heavyweight Title Eliminator match.
Is that what that was?
Which I don't think is a thing in New Japan, but
is that what that was?
Yeah, it was. It was.
It felt like they did everything in their power to make you think that Takeshita had a chance of winning this match.
Yeah. Well, I think a fair number of people there and probably watching the show used their wrestling brain and thought, oh, they're giving the non-title match. It's going to set up a forbidden door. No.
There's a lot of politics to Takeshita in Japan. Yeah. The long and the short story is there's no scenario in which Takeshita going to Japan as the IWGP champion instead of Jon Moxley going to Japan as the IWGP champion is best for business. And if you use that kind of logic, right. This was always the outcome. And it was just a matter of how far they were going to push the envelope before they kept Moxley safe for his title defense against Evil, which he will probably win, and then defend presumably against Naito and New Japan Soul. That's my prediction. And then he'll drop for the G1. And then this weird experiment with the IWGP title, which hasn't really worked out and made anyone happy, will be over.
It's made Moxley happy.
I'm happy for him, but honestly, I'm not even sure Moxley would say he's happy with how this whole arrangement has worked out. It feels like it's being shared by two companies that have very different ideas of how they want to do it. Yeah. And have had to book to cater to both entities. And I wouldn't be entirely satisfied with the way that it all worked out.
My impression is uninformed impression is that Moxley would have just assumed win that title, take a few months off from AEW, do New Japan and New Japan America while he had that run, and just come back when he drops it. Maybe, which I think probably is what they should have done. Instead of doing these matches, like back in the day when the Road Warriors were the IWGP or before, whatever it was, International Tag Team Champions in Japan, they would show up with those belts and they would say that they're off defending those titles in Japan, but they wouldn't defend them in the States. Treat it. number one, you shouldn't be talking about multiple world championships too much on your show.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fine to acknowledge the IWGP championship and treat it as important and treat it as like Mox saying, I've wanted this title for 5 years. That's all fine. But that's not a show you should be saying. You shouldn't be saying we might have a IWGP title match on the show. It's like, no, that's in Japan.
Right.
It's, he's going to go over there. He's going to defend that. We're all proud of him. He's going to carry the AEW flag in Japan and show them all this stuff. So to me, it's just like, they should just let him carry the belt around and maybe, God forbid, plug some of the shows he's doing for New Japan. But this match to me should have been a TV match. Shouldn't have been part of it. It was good. It was enjoyable. I liked it. Takeshita's amazing.
Title.
Yeah.
Yes. The times that the IWGP title have really been featured in prominence on AEW have been Sonata versus Jack Perry last year, Will Hobbs versus Moxley, and now an eliminator with Moxley and Takeshita. Right. I am sorry, that does not scream a murderer's row of AEW's top talent vying for New Japan's top title. And if you're not going to allocate
the Forbidden Door 4-way too. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like title, like one-on-one, like
right.
The whole deal. It just, when you're doing it like that, it feels devalued.
Yeah.
And this is the top title in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And it was dropped in the States. And, Japanese fans don't love it, but they certainly aren't going to have the next title drop again in the United States. That title's getting dropped in Japan. It's just a matter of where. Yeah. And based off of what's going on in New Japan, I would eat my hat if Evil and the House of Torture end up with that title.
Yeah, exactly. The one kernel of doubt I had in this match was Forbidden Door. Mm-hmm. If they were going to use this to set up, like, do a kind of a teaser match where Mox is like not 100%,
mm-hmm.
loses the match, sets up Takeshita getting a match at Forbidden Door, and Moxley beats him solidly there, and that's your, Takeshita doesn't get a shot in the States. Mm-hmm. I know there's politics in that and why Takeshita might even get a shot. One thought I had about Takeshita, one of the comments that Paul Fontaine has made about him is that he's the equivalent of a Blake Christian in Japan. Like if you were to bring him in to a New Japan show, it would be as if you brought in Blake Christian to face Swerve. That seemed a little extreme to me, but I get where he's coming from, because you're talking about like DDT basically being the equivalent of like a
you're
GCW.
You're trying to find a very skilled, an analogy of a very skilled wrestler who blows us away because he comes from a different culture and a different continent. But if you were trying to find like a one-to-one, like somebody in TNA on that upper card, that's just like, like a Speedball Mike Bailey.
Speedball, that's the name that just came to mind as you were
talking about that would probably, like, I get where he's going with the Blake Christian because he's got the GCW and the ROH, and that's just kind of that mid-level promotion that DDT kind of is right now. It's just like Takeshita had the opportunities, and then they brought in Okada. You know what I mean? It's like, I hate to like use the word tokenism, but there was a sense of tokenism to this match in which Tony Khan wanted to find his best Asian wrestler and then manufacture a match for the IWGP title because that's a match, that's a title in Japan. And it kind of rubbed me slightly the wrong way. And I don't think he meant it like that.
No.
But if you're paying attention to like Japan, and I don't expect everyone here to obviously pay attention to the nuances. I've had to figure it out by watching years of New Japan and just kind of sussing it out and listening to people much smarter than me explain just so I can get a layout of how booking works over there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sure if his window has passed, but I certainly feel like the opportunity for Takeshi to be the top star. One, if Kenny Omega doesn't come back for a very, very long time, they've already looked past Takeshita and Omega, and they're already looking at Omega Okada. That's not good news for Takeshita.
No.
And so he does this.
And he's already lost to Ospreay.
He's already lost to Ospreay. He's the best guy to lose to. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
he is a guy that he is their best enhancement talent.
yes, he's the jobber to the stars.
Yes, absolutely.
And which is kind of what Danielson is kind of being a little bit to a higher level, but yeah, that's kind of who he is, and it's really unfortunate because he is a fantastic wrestler. Whenever I look at him, I always think 1986 Barry Windham, just like this amazing physicality and just natural athleticism. He is so
another
good.
Example of missed opportunities and an inability to capitalize on something when it was hot.
And just having a stacked roster.
Yes.
Where it's like, yes, he should be higher, but I'm always like, well, who would I bump? And it's like, I'm not bumping Okada to give Takeshita the shot, at least not for a couple years. But one day, an Okada Takeshita match could be amazing.
I think an Okada Takeshita match should be amazing, and Takeshita, if they were ballsy, would potentially beat him, because that's how you make Takeshita. Yeah. But I don't necessarily think that Tony's willing to let the stars that he pays the most money to lose.
And at least right now, and he still operates in that weird sort of like lanes mentality where it's like you have the elite lane and you have the Callis family lane and you have that where it's like people just don't orbit around each other, and Takesha's just not in that orbit with Okada right now, even though he would have been if Omega hadn't gotten sick.
So I was trying to scan for the press conference stuff, anything that was interesting, and it looks like Will Ospreay has not closed the opportunity to wrestle for the Owen this year. He was asked if he'd be interested in working the Owen. This is according to Trevor Dame, and seeing as how the winner challenges for the world title in Wembley. Will says if there's an opportunity for the world title, he will be putting his name in the race. So having a title does not necessarily preclude you from challenging for the Owen. So that would make it so potentially have Okada, Danielson, Samoa Joe. Like I would put Samoa Joe in there, seeing as he's a former champion. MJF, Adam Cole. Yeah. You could fill 8 people immediately.
Easy. Yeah. Okay. Let's see now. Oh man. Malachi Black versus Adam Copeland. I think a lot of people the biggest anticipation of this match was, will Malachi Black do a job, and what did Ruckus come up with for Adam Copeland's theme song? And we got the answer to both, which is probably surprised to neither. They did a Brood entrance for Adam Copeland. Fire, red lights, all that stuff. It was over with the crowd. It was fine. It's nothing you haven't seen done to a higher level in WWE the last couple of years. And turns out Malachi Black pretty much, he worked hard during the match, but literally did nothing to put, literally nothing to put Edge over at the end of that. This match was crazy for a lot of reasons. We can go back and talk about the match first, but I do want to talk about that finish. It ended with Edge they put a halo of barbed wire on Edge.
A crown. A thorny crown of barbs on his head.
Yes. And then Gangrel. Well, okay.
Okay, so
yeah.
Okay.
I keep having to back up.
At some point in the match.
Yes, the door flies
near
open.
The end, Malachi grabs a tripod with barbed wire and attempts to stab Copeland with it and punctures the ring. Yeah. And this plays a part later on in
I didn't even catch that part.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's how he came through, is because when Malachi went to stab Copeland with it, he punched a hole in it. I'm like, and then they made a point of saying he punctured the ring. And I'm like, what do you mean he punched a hole in the ring?
Right.
Like, what kind of bullshit is that?
Yeah.
And so we have a whole schmoz. Copeland ends up outside of the ring, and I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, the cage door flies open. Copeland falls out. Malachi follows him out. The crowd pretty much deflates as soon as that cage happens. House of Black comes out. Buddy and Brody come out, and they stand facing Edge. Then they turn around to do a turn and stare at Malachi, and Malachi looks horrified, and the whole crowd starts buzzing that Edge has, or that Adam has recruited the House of Black out from under Malachi. But no, it was just a sell, just a tease. And they turn on Adam, throw him in the ring. At which point I'm wondering, okay, in the storyline, in the world of this match, and they turn to go to the side of Edge, is the idea that they like called up Adam before the match and was like, hey, we're ready to turn with you and we're going to form the New Brood and all that stuff just at the moment, you know, we're going to do that. And he thought they were in on it and they scammed him? Or did he think, wow, these guys just for a moment, you know, for no reason at all, just turned on their boss? I'm so happy about that. Either way.
My immediate thought was, oh, Malachi's 3-year contract up. He's all that.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. And I think that's what a lot of people thought actually was, oh, they're writing him off.
I think they wanted you to think that.
Yeah.
I think that was pretty funny.
So they throw him back in the ring. They wrap him up barbed wire. They're doing the crown of barbed wire. And then Brody goes to get the tripod, I guess, and leans over and he sticks his head up as if something is like a bee stung him or something like that. And we're like, what happened? Buddy goes over to see what happens. Gangrel rises from obscurity to spit mist. Apparently he misted both of them, which gave him the advantage enough to be able to do the impaler on 2 people. The crowd did love this for the most part. He seemed over the moon to be in there and doing these spots. And I thought, oh gosh, like 55-year-old Gangrel is taking out the hardest core faction in the thing, but they got the upper hand on him. Then Edge puts the barbed wire on Malachi and gets him into the crossface, and you can tell that the spot is that the crown is supposed to go over his face and either do the mouth thing that Edge likes to do, where he pulls back on their mouth. The idea is that Edge is going to pull back on the barbed wire to get him to tap.
Yes.
Malachi wanted zero part of this. Nothing. He refused.
Nothing.
Yeah, nothing to do with it. Like he basically did not participate.
At what point in this finish were you like, oh, Malachi's gonna fuck him?
Yeah, he was just like, nope, not doing that. So they basically have to like hover the crown around his face, and then Edge is like, Adam's like feeling around, like, how do I get a hold of this guy and make it look good?
Yes.
And so he finally kind of like pulls him back a little bit and kind of presses the thing where it looks like it's supposed to be there. And Malachi just kind of like stares off in the middle distance as if he's just sort of bored. And then the ref calls the match.
He went to find his happy place.
Yeah, he went into his happy place. He disassociated, and the ref called yes. No tap, nothing. Not even feigning unconsciousness.
Not even like a verbal acknowledgement.
Nope.
He died.
Nothing.
And that was his way of losing the match. Was
to ignore it.
I cannot give you a confirmation that I give up for this match. I will instead die.
Yes. So Adam Copeland, winner by disassociation.
Yes. There was one spot that we didn't catch.
Yeah.
And that was Adam Copeland went to the top of the cage.
Oh my gosh.
And Malachi Black was on a table.
Yeah.
And, it was very similar to Cody and Wardlow when Cody was at the top of the cage for their match.
Mm-hmm.
Similar to Kurt Angle doing his moonsault off of the top rope. Mm-hmm. This is the kind of event that we're talking about here.
Matt Hardy doing I witnessed in person Matt Hardy doing the leg drop off a cage onto Edge.
Another lovely example.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened here other than Edge decided not to fully commit at the end. And it was... I don't mean to laugh.
Yeah.
I thought he broke his leg at the moment.
I thought, yeah.
Like he did an elbow drop onto Malachi.
Yeah.
But it was like he was diving into a pool feet first.
Yes, exactly.
And he went straight to the ground.
His
elbow just kind of hitting Malachi, and the table broke. Everything worked out great. But if you thought Eddie Kingston wasn't going to get back up at Resurgence, there was a moment where I was like, just get up.
Yeah.
Just put weight on both your feet.
Yeah.
And for a while there, I thought he had gotten out of there alive, unscathed.
Yeah.
But by the end of that thing, he wasn't moving too well.
No, that adrenaline carried him in because he did a spear right after that. And I thought, he's fine.
Yes. He did a spear to end the match. And to help end the match.
Mm-hmm.
And that spear looked vicious and fast.
Yeah.
But I
think that was the last bit of knee he had.
Oh, man. I hope it's just a high ankle sprain.
Me too. Or just great selling, because my gosh. That was way more Jim Cornette falling from a scaffold than it was Kurt Angle doing a
that was hashtag yikes, bud.
Yeah. That was bad.
Off to the triple main event?
Yes. Triple main event. Mercedes Moné versus Willow Nightingale. This was my match of the night. Brandon Sandman asked that earlier in the evening.
It was your match of the night.
That was my match of the night.
I tipped the cap to Roddy and Will myself.
I wouldn't argue that. I
will
think
say that this is in competition with the Moxley and Takeshita match. It's my second favorite match of the night.
I think this one pulled ahead on those two just on vibes to me.
I think vibes was good. I also feel like Roddy and Ospreay had the element of being the least obvious of who was going to win.
That's true. Matches. Yeah, for sure. This one was not in doubt. But they did good video packages leading in. Other than, for some reason, they have not asked for that wrestling club footage where Willow Nightingale appeared at the school kids and like they all went insane for her because it makes her look like a huge star.
Oh, they're saving that one for later.
Yeah. So great entrances. Willow felt big time. During the entry, they did some nice camera angles and stuff to make it feel like big match feel for both of them. Mercedes was feeling it. She had a great marching band entrance for her music, even though her song is awful. Let's see. It was
this was a match in which the two understood who was the heel and who was the face.
Yes,
very clearly. Talked about Tony and Serena not understanding and not playing to the crowd. Mm-hmm. This was the exact opposite, and the match exceeded as a result of them understanding the dynamic that they needed to play.
Yes, and it reminded me what I like about Mercedes Moné as a wrestler, because when she was doing the Japanese matches, when she first came out after leaving WWE, I don't like her as much as a in that stardom mode where it's sort of like there are heels and faces, but it's just way more like an athletic competition, whatever. She thrives when it feels more like a fight. Because she does these little things that's like just little scrappy moves. Like she'll just do a little kick on someone, or she'll like slap them.
I know what you're trying to say. She wrestled like she had to prove something in Japan. Yeah. She's wrestling here to wrestle because it's a business.
Right.
You know, it's like it's her job to wrestle here. She was wrestling there to prove that she could do a certain way, or she could hang, or whatever. It was, the motivation is different.
Yeah. And it was interesting because Willow is clearly the babyface and she's clearly the heel, but Willow is also kind of the monster and she's this sort of scrappy underdog. But somehow it worked because she had this kind of viciousness that Mercedes does really well, while Willow's like just using her strength. It was kind of that, it was more Luger Flair type, or than like, Brett Yokozuna kind of thing. It was,
I had a lot. I was watching the match and it made me think about the Nia Jax Lyra Valkyrie match from the show yesterday in the WWE. And I really liked that match at the time. But when I watched this match, I was like, oh my God, that match is not very good compared to what these two were able to do with the big woman, small woman dynamic, the athleticism, the creativity, and their ability to push the envelope with each other in the ring. It was just, it was exponentially better than what I saw yesterday. And I really liked what they did in that match.
Yeah.
But this was this was Willow. I felt like this was more Willow's match than Mercedes' match.
Very much. Yeah. Willow definitely felt, I don't know who called the match, but Willow definitely felt very much a part of this. This was not Mercedes giving the rub to her and leading her through, she might have been leading the match, but this felt like two equals in terms of stardom.
I felt like Willow was outshining Mercedes at moments in this match.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that was the intention.
Mm-hmm.
But when they're saying that these two wrestlers had to rise to the moment,
mm-hmm.
I felt like Willow rose to the moment more consistently throughout the match than Mercedes did. I don't want to say Mercedes didn't rise to the occasion. She absolutely did. But I think that there was a rust and a feeling out factor and a number of other things. You could maybe argue that Willow was even more motivated or had different motivations that served her even more so than Mercedes. Mercedes getting paid. It's like she's already got the money in the bank.
Right.
And she's already got the spot.
Mm-hmm.
Willow's in there with her.
Right.
And Willow's the one that, I've been saving this bullet in the chamber for a while. Tony Khan fucked up 9 months ago when Willow won the strong title and he didn't strap a rocket to her and make sure that when this moment came and Double or Nothing was here and Mercedes and Willow was the match, this should have been the main event of the fucking show because they were building it since last summer when Willow broke Mercedes' leg and then Willow should have been on a run this entire time building it up to this match.
And
this
theoretically,
was a missed opportunity.
Right. And there are many people who believe that Willow was under AEW contract, or at least was pretty much a lock at that point already. That he knew he was going to have Mercedes when she was fine. From the moment that she got hurt, I don't know why he wasn't thinking about tonight.
I don't know either. Even if he did not have Mercedes under lock and key at that moment, even if it wasn't until January or November or whenever, like that moment where everyone came to agreement and you knew it was under the thing, you had a wrestler named Willow Nightingale who just got the rub beating Mercedes Moné in another promotion, fall into your lap and you do nothing with it. Like, you deserve the self-inflicted wound of losing out on the opportunity of building a women's division. I was talking with some other people tonight, and they were arguing that the women's division in AEW is stronger than it's been in a long time, but they had to claw and fight their way. For the most part, it is stronger than it's been in a while, but they had to claw and fight their way when you had opportunities like this along the way that you did not take that could have made that path easier, and you didn't do it. And we're patting ourselves on the back saying, wow, what a good job that we got to when we got to this match and we really delivered something great. This could have been something transcendent. This could have been Bayley versus Sasha.
This could have been Bayley Sasha.
Takeover, and we are happy with what we got, but it could have been so much more.
Yeah.
And we need AEW wants to talk about it being elite, right? But it's not bold. Like, they do not make bold decisions about their talent in which they see an opportunity and go for it. They simply stick with the people that they feel like they can trust and that are going to deliver the banger matches. And then we set up these pay-per-views, but you're not seeing these opportunities. And sometimes they don't go according, like, your plans aren't going to come to fruition. Sometimes these plans fall in your lap and you should just take them, put it in your pocket and make the money.
Yep.
And he should have been making the money.
Yep.
That's
absolutely.
I have longer on this rant, but it's a late night. Let's just
go
on to the next one.
So immediately after the match, Mercedes won, botched the finish a little bit, but it was okay.
She pulled that off on Willow. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
They probably should have worked that out a couple more times.
So it's the maneuver where Mercedes puts somebody on her back like a backpack, and then flips them over onto their face in kind of like
it's kind of a simpler Stormbreaker.
Yes. on the back instead of the shoulder.
And it doesn't do a full rotation. She just sort of pancakes her.
Let me repeat this. Mercedes Moné did this maneuver with Willow on her back, walked her from the corner to the middle of the ring, and did this maneuver. I don't care like what you say. That's just flat out impressive.
It was impressive, yeah. But I do think Mercedes probably should get back to a hold she can do on anybody, because she's going to be smaller than most of the people. So it worked out okay this time. But so she goes off with the title. Stokely is mad at Willow because one of the things we didn't mention before was that Willow did have a visual pinfall on Mercedes with the Dr. Bomb, but Stokely was distracting the ref unintentionally, of course, to prevent the win. So Stokely's mad at her for winning. Chris pushes Stokely down, takes Willow out of the ring to walk her back, and then takes her out. Stokely laughs, reveals that the whole thing was a ruse, and Stokely and Statlander turn heel as everyone expected, but doesn't appear to be aligned with Mercedes, which is what some people thought.
Got a summertime feud.
Yep. Which is, to me, a positive, as much as I wanted Willow to, number one, it tells me Willow's not going away.
No.
And, hey, there's another feud. So, in the women's division, that's not just based around a title. So that is another baby step forward in the women's division. So
I very much believe that if they are smart, Willow is who they build a division around beyond the TBS championship. Like, she is potentially AEW world champion. Mm-hmm. And if she is the one to beat Mercedes for it after Mercedes wins it down the line, that's the kind of thing that long-term storytelling does.
Yep. I look forward to, in like 18 months or so, seeing a Willow Nightingale Jamie Hayter match.
Willow Nightingale stepped up tonight. And I think that if AEW fails to see that they have one of their top female stars in her after this summer, then she needs to look elsewhere for employment.
Yes,
because
she would do well in WWE as well.
She would do well anywhere.
Yeah,
and she's the goods, and she had the look tonight.
Yep,
everything. Yep. She just like.
Yep, she's come along. Yeah. She's gotten her promos have come along. Yeah, she's
ready
to go.
Exciting time to get behind Willow Nightingale as a fan.
Yep, absolutely. All right, world title match: Swerve Strickland versus Christian Cage. I was not super stoked about this match going in. I just really didn't buy into the sort of contrived way they tried to loop in all the history with them into it.
I never felt like this. I never felt like this felt like a main event, a world title feud, a world title match, and I am having a hard time seeing Swerve as the world champion.
Unfortunately, yeah. Partially because he has sort of changed his presentation, where he's sort of become sort of a generic Cody-ish.
He needs a letter jacket that says AEW. It says, I'm your team captain, guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what we're getting right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's not what he is.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like a decision was made to put the belt on him. And I think the belt should have stayed on Samoa Joe. If this is the run that he is going to have, like
it's a very Hangman run. It's a very Hangman run.
Anybody any favors?
Yeah.
And yes, it's the first title. It's the first title match.
Yeah.
It's like I had a different vision about what Swerve should have been doing in this match or in this show tonight, and we'll get to it between this and the next match.
Yeah.
But if you're going to be team AEW and you're not, and you're going to be like the captain of all things AEW and steer the ship, you shouldn't be having a match with Christian at Double or Nothing. You should be in Anarchy in the arena defending AEW.
Which, honestly, it's what they should have done.
Yes.
Have this instead of Danielson, probably. Like, have this like motley
crew of Darby. People. It never should have been Kingston. It never should have been Darby.
No.
It should have been Danielson. It should have been Swerve. It should have been FTR.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when they began this feud down the line, they had a moment where like the Bucks and Swerve interacted.
Yeah.
And they were like, and we're cool with each other. You know, like whatever you do your thing, I'm doing mine.
Right.
That was a missed opportunity. That's where you set up this feud.
And Swerve mouths off to them. And so, yeah, it was right there. And they just decided not to do it.
But they had a certain amount of matches. They needed to make sure everyone fit. You didn't have Christian have a dance partner with anybody else. You know, you wanted to make sure your AEW title was defended on the show. There's all these rules that you need to have.
Yeah.
But fundamentally speaking, if you wanted a show that made sense, Swerve should have been part of Team AEW and Anarchy in the arena.
Swerve should have, what you could have done, you could have even put Mox in there. I mean, Danielson's fine. I'm not trying to get Danielson out of the match, but like, yeah, you could have said that this match is such a big deal that we're not going to have a title match. You could have had no IWGP match and no AEW World title match and made Mercedes and Willow the top title match on the show and do a double main event. And it would have, it would have felt a lot more special.
And it wouldn't have been a 5.5 hour show.
And it wouldn't have been a 5.5 hour show. And there was no need to have that world title match.
Nope.
Match was fine. It's, just Christian lays out matches really well. It started slow.
All the Christian things with the patriarchy, with the kill switch, Nick Wayne,
Yeah.
People
getting ejected and coming back in.
All the bells and whistles and the bullshit of a main event match with Christian Cage and Swerve with Prince Nana and everything. It is exactly what you thought it was.
Right.
There were no surprises in this match. I think the only time I really popped was when Swerve did the jumping kick at Christian near the end of the match, and he just cleaned his clock on that.
Yeah.
One. And then the finish came right after, and I was like, that was a main event pro wrestling match.
Yep. I did like the Warriors reference at the beginning with the entrance and the vest, the Warriors vest. The gear was on point tonight. Yeah. More gear lore. Yeah, that's really all there is to that.
It was a thumbs up match, but nobody got this pay-per-view for this match tonight.
No, at the same time, that match ended. He's celebrating as the champion. I look at the clock. It is 5 till 11 my time. And I thought, oh, that's not a bad ending. Yeah, great. Show ended. Like,
oh no.
It felt like that was the end of the pay-per-view. Oh no.
Oh no.
There's a whole other thing.
We have Anarchy awaiting us.
Yeah.
Felt like a Stadium Stampede, to be honest, but I don't know what the difference between Anarchy in the arena and Stadium Stampede is at this point.
Yeah, it's just where it is.
With all the pre-tapes and all that stuff.
Right. So we move on to Anarchy in the arena. A lot of the discussion, the buzz was about what is the song they're going to play during the match as tradition to play the music at the beginning of the match.
Boy, they leaned in hard on this one, didn't they?
Yeah, the 2 year, yeah, you could tell they had that meeting because 2 years before it was a Wild Thing that set the trend. And
totally
last year, that was so fun. Last year was Judas. So this year, nobody's got that banger of a song of any of the people in here.
Yeah.
But I mean,
they start with Darby's music.
They start with Darby, and you think, okay, that's fine.
It's not working.
No, but you're like,
you can
okay,
be white and say, sure, whatever.
Right.
It's bringing the mood down.
Yeah, right. It's just lame because it's so plain. And then Matt, I think it was Matt Jackson, grabs the mic and says, "Shut this off. Let's play our music, our new theme song," which is total, cheesy heel move. But playing that weird Succession knockoff theme is just like, actively making your match less enjoyable to get.
This was the moment I was like, they've killed this gimmick.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. And
I was like, there's no fixing this now. Well,
and then Bryan Danielson, which is so ridiculous, and yet part of what I love about this match is that these guys are in this blood match where it's like probably the closest you're going to get to attempted murder in any AEW match ever. But they stop to talk about what music's being played as they attempt to murder each other. So Bryan Danielson says, "Let's play the greatest entrance music ever."
I like, when you see a thought balloon where there's like the 3 dots where it's like dot, dot, dot. You're just like, that's what was going on in my head. It was like, did they spend the money?
Yeah. Apparently, it really was $200,000 every time they play that song, which is insane to me.
So I was watching it with Dave Meltzer and Gary Gonzalez and a few other people, and I was like, okay, Dave, they had the rights to play that song twice when they got it last year, and they used it for Bindor and Wrestle Dream with Okada and Zack Sabre Jr. Did they blow money again to get this song? He's like, I don't know. And then Nick or Matt Jackson went straight on there, like, we just spent $200,000.
We're not playing that again.
Like, we're not doing this again. And I'm just like, what kind of power of VPs do you really have if someone go out to like spend $200,000 on a piece of music and you can't veto it?
Right. Yeah. But it was great. I mean, the crowd finally got what they wanted.
They had to do something because, again, 5 hours into a show, the crowd's tired, and it's like they're rushing through everything to get this thing going. Like even the entrances, they truncated the entrances, and like they did the Young Bucks, and then in the middle of Jack Perry's entrance, FTR and Danielson assault the Elite with Okada as well. And then in the middle of the assault, they just throw Darby Allin's music on there. And that's how we get the Darby Allin playing through the beginning of the thing. So they know that the timing is going crazy. Yeah. But man, they let this thing breathe.
Yeah. Yeah, they did. Darby looked like how you would think Darby looked. He looked like he's about to fall over through just.
He was in fact injured and should not have been in this match.
He should not have been in the match. This was just so weird to see like Kazuchika Okada in his full white Rainmaker gear, just in this wild brawl.
Oh, I have to shout out that guy. You want to hear this one?
Yeah.
Shout out to Kazuchika Okada. Gets the fucking bag. Millions of dollars contract year. Does not upgrade his gear from Wrestle Kingdom.
Wears exactly the gear.
Not changing.
Didn't even
any more money on that.
Yeah, and they didn't even let him keep the little black light that makes it turn colors.
Oh my god! I was just like, you get all this money, you don't even update your gear for a big pay-per-view. God bless you, man.
I wanted to see him.
Not a brawler.
No,
you know what I mean. Like there was a Sports Illustrated article where Diego said this is a big test for Okada, doing stuff that he like doesn't normally do. And to be honest, he didn't blow me away in this kind of match, but he shouldn't have been in this kind of match.
No.
And so it's like at least he didn't make it worse, Like this is you're forcing this on him, but nobody showed up to see Okada and Anarchy in the arena.
No,
like, that was not the.
And they put him in spots to do things that he did walking brawl. He did the diving, the leap, the like flying body press over the barrier that he does in matches. So they picked out what spots would work well. And he did a thumbtack assisted Rainmaker,
which led to the shoes, which led to the
there's a whole
I want to give them credit because they knew Darby was limited, so this match was accompanied with a number of pre-tapes in which Jack Perry and Darby went outside to fight. And so Jack Perry got at some point thrown into an ice bath and dumped, which was clever, and it'll be picked up on later on.
Yeah.
So Darby and Jack are fighting, and Darby ends up being incapacitated, and they go back to the ring for about 3 or 4 minutes, and then the next thing you know, cuts back to the backstage in the pre-tape, where Jack Perry runs through. Darby Allin with a truck, or so you think, with the way that the cut is. This is all done the night before, so Darby can do as little work as possible in between the dive at the beginning of the match and whatever he's going to do with the flamethrower at the end of the match. So they do this whole thing, and then they go back to live. But when Jack Perry comes back out, he still looks like he's been dunked in water, but the water has a weird sheen on it.
Yes, he's kind of shiny.
And we'll get back to that at some point. But there was a number of things that happened before we got to that point.
Yeah. So let's see. Just typically brawling. I did love the spot when Darby did the the dive that would normally be the highlight, like if Sting did it, back in the last couple of years, the dive off the arena thing, and did it right as the chorus hit of the final countdown. Perfect timing.
I'm telling you, man, he needed to get his spots done out of the way because he might not be able to get him done with
right. Yeah, they knocked it out quick. Let's see, nothing crazy. Typical concession stand type brawls. FTR wearing random long boy tights, as you do for an Anarchy match. Then we did the truck spot. Perry appeared to be dead inside the truck when they took a camera in there, and maybe not as wet as he was, 10 minutes before. Then
when you were out in that Las Vegas heat, you dry up real quick.
Yeah, it's true. It is the desert. So then FTR kind of brings things into the ring. They did a really good Power and Glory for once. Landed it. Things kind of settle into the ring a little bit. Darby tries to come back out, and they sort of stuff him into the Cody Vader at the entrance and close the LED wall to trap him, presumably, into the gorilla position, to appear later. Then they do some spots calling back. There were a couple of callbacks, like Moxley wore a similar vest that he wore the first Double or Nothing. And then they did a callback spot to the first Double or Nothing by having the stack of chips nearby, and they did a couple of spots on that. They did the Tony Khan driver.
Nick not doing the flip before the Tony Khan driver seemed like the smartest move.
Yes.
Of all the ill-advised moves that the talent had performed.
Yeah, that was probably the safest move of the entire night.
1,000%.
And let's see. They played up the Excalibur. Interestingly, most of this match, the announcers are just like, guys, this is crazy. But Excalibur is actually playing up Danielson has a bad neck and he just was injured at the last pay-per-view, and Darby has a bad ankle and they're he's actually calling out injury spots. So then Darby shows up again. He's got a flamethrower. Oh, Perry shows up again. He's glistening. Darby shows up with the flamethrower.
Grabs Tony Khan from the back.
Oh, that's right. He grabs Tony Khan from Gorilla, drags him out. Tony clearly feared for his life at that moment. Perry dragged him out, and Darby came out to save him with a flamethrower.
Our Furiosa tie-in, I believe.
That's what they should have done. Yeah, you're right. He should have done the grease paint over the top.
Time, and nobody picked up on it. I'm like, you should have just said it was a Furiosa.
Yeah, tie. He should have been a war boy. He should have been a war boy.
1,000%.
So he's coming up aiming the flamethrower up high so it doesn't burn anybody. But then when he gets to Perry, he points it down at the ground, shoots Perry. Perry's pants get on fire. He's running around with the pants so the flames, go behind him instead of up on him. I swear Darby zapped him on the arm. I don't know how the flamethrower works, but the angle and everything, it looked like he started getting a little crazy with it. It did get pretty wild there for a second.
He only got the legs, but he got down real quick.
He laid down.
This was something that Jack Perry had been planning for a while.
Yeah, I guess there was social media footage of him practicing.
Back in February when he was away, before he showed up in New Japan, or while he was not wrestling, but the footage came out after he showed up in New Japan, was stunt footage of him lighting himself on fire with the same gel and doing this stunt full body. And so they did the stunt with him with the flammable pants and did the gel on top, and that's why he went inexplicably through an ice bath. And I thought that was clever storytelling.
Yeah, they planned it out well. Then the match sort of got weird to me.
The one question I have for you is this. After that all happened, what happened to Tony Khan?
He just sort of disappeared, didn't he?
Yes.
He did.
Never seen again. Just assumed he went right back to his position like
just
an unplayable character. Understood what his role was, got up and just walked like a robot back to his spot and just got back.
Right. Presumably he was not calling the disciplinary committee because Bryan Danielson was already out there.
But they really just wanted you to forget about that aspect of it.
Yeah, that was weird that they pulled him out there and nothing happened
Yes.
with him. It's odd.
Yes.
Um,
Then we got the best finish that they could possibly have. The one that I was like, if they don't do this finish, it
but
makes
they
no
did a lot of weird stuff in between. They got me really concerned because they started tying a cable around Darby's feet. And I thought for a second they were going to dangle him over the ring, high above the ring.
No.
On a night that Martha Hart was in the building.
I know that was a concern.
They did not do that.
Total sense that they would do that, but it was just to kick him in the face.
It was just a kick in the face, but he was upside down for a long time. Which, if you have an injured nose,
if you have
and
a
you're
broken nose
down,
and you're upside down, you could see him. He had his hand over his nose and he was trying to breathe through his mouth.
Yeah,
that shit sucked.
Yeah,
that shit
I wouldn't be surprised if his eyes puffed out and stuff.
Yeah.
So they also did an exploding chair spot, which for no reason.
Whatever.
They should have just loaded up the super kicks and did what they did last time and have the Reeboks explode on.
Sure.
I mean, as long as Darby's in for that kind of stuff.
Their pop explosions.
They do love their pop explosions almost as much as Matt Hardy likes his Roman candles.
Pop, pop.
Yeah, so they hit him with the Okada was very excited to bring them the Reeboks with the tacks. They pumped them up because tacks are the deadliest weapon in wrestling. Mm-hmm. Danielson did his Bicycle knee with a chair, did not get the pin. Perry finally pins him with a knee. I think it was just straight up knee, right? He did the Bicycle knee.
He almost did his own version of the Bicycle knee.
Yeah, he did his own, but it wasn't like thumbtack assisted or any of that.
FTR a little bit earlier. They were completely just taken out. You had Darby Allin hanging by his feet.
So Danielson's isolated. Yeah.
Danielson's all by himself. He's trying desperately to reach for Darby to rescue him, to get him down.
Yeah.
At the time, Jack Perry sees it, hits him with his own Bicycle knee, gets the pin, and Jack Perry is a made man. I'm desperately hope, Kevin Ely, that we do not get a singles match between Bryan Danielson and Jack Perry.
Gets his win back.
And in which Bryan Danielson gets his win back.
Right.
That
because
would
I remember
undo everything.
1 year ago, Wheeler Yuta won Anarchy in the arena, and everyone thought Yuta's made now. They're getting behind him. This is what's going to make Yuta. And
lost to Omega. What, a week later?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, so I agree. I hope they don't do that.
He pinned Omega, and then you had to save.
I think their intention is absolutely for Jack Perry to do that. I would not be surprised if he did have a singles match with Danielson. Danielson put him over. Mm-hmm. As long as they were going to do that, may as well lit that knee back on fire again and with a flaming knee, because it was funny that after all that he loses to a wrestling move.
It was the only decision that made sense to have Jack Perry win this match. No one else needed it.
He should have. Yeah. So we'll see where that goes. The one thing about the Anarchy match is it's entertaining. It's wild. It's definitely a calling card match for AEW.
4 people.
But what does it mean?
Better than 5.
But what does it mean? Like,
doesn't mean anything. It's a party match.
I know, but
it's supposed to make you feel like you are getting the biggest stars on both sides of the thing, and they're gonna fuck each other up.
Yeah.
And at the first year, you had this blood feud between Blackpool Combat Club and
Jericho
Society. And Jericho.
Yeah, specifically Eddie and Jericho.
Blackpool and the Elite, and this year is the Elite and Team AEW, and it's just the concept is starting to lose potency.
Yeah.
It's like you have not raised the stakes or anything. You have simply said, hey, this match is coming. We are going to, set up something so that you kind of know this thing.
Right.
If we were all paying attention, it kind of felt like Anarchy in the Arena was going to be Callis versus Blackpool Combat Club.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it was going to be until Hobbs got injured, and then it was like that's just not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
But this did not feel, honestly, like the biggest match or the biggest group of people that you could have in this show. You know what I mean? Yeah. When I watched Anarchy in the Arena, I felt like it was what does it mean? It didn't mean anything. you're not getting a title shot. It's not like anyone on the Elite is suddenly going to get the opportunity to challenge Swerve. Is Jack Perry going to get a title match? Is he going to be the one in the gauntlet?
And if they did, they would just say, "Hey, guess what? Jack Perry is a title match," because they're EVPs. They don't have to win in Anarchy the arena to have power. They already have it.
That opportunity.
So it's just like another chapter of people hating each other, fighting, which is fine. It's just like you said, it's just kind of losing its potency. It's always gonna be a fun. It's becoming just a great party match, as opposed to, which I guess it was before, and maybe it's just the fact that they've decided to make it the main event every year, the last 2 years, that gives it an importance that it shouldn't have, because there was a Stadium Stampede match at All In at Wembley last year. And, it ended with Orange Cassidy like dipping his hand in broken glass. And, it was like crazy stadium match, but it didn't mean anything. But that was okay because it was a crazy party match early on the show, in the middle of the show. So, yeah, I mean, and yeah, that's a good comment. I mean, that's just a yearly cool thing, and that's fine.
But when you have stuff like the Owen, right, where it's coming every year, and then all of a sudden they raise the stakes and say, hey, when you win this thing, you're going to get an opportunity at something. If every member of the winning team gets a shot at a title of their choice or something like that, where it's just like, hey, like you win the stakes on this, you get to call your shot because you won the biggest match with the biggest group of people, and everyone on the side gets part of the bounty.
Yeah.
I see where you're going with that, but they don't book like that.
Yeah, and it does feel like a match that's like, this match takes something out of you. Like it kind of, it helps write Darby off for a while. It's like it keeps your heroes out of the game for a little bit, so like someone else like Swerve has to step up, or something like that. But so I don't know, it's a minor complaint, but it's fine. But
when the match feels diminished from what you originally saw 3 years ago or something like that, and you're just like, what can they do to get the magic back the way that you first felt it? I'm not sure that they can.
Yeah.
But if they do, they need to reimagine it in a way where the essence is still there, but you're coming up with creative ways to entertain the audience.
Yeah. And think about who's in it. So like Okada doesn't need to be in a match like this,
What if you did a women's Anarchy in the arena next year?
Hey, that's a good idea, actually.
Right? Like switch it up. Like have 4 women on 4 women, and just
because like we talked about, being a signature thing. Like one of the weird things that AEW is like, what is things that AEW do well? Hardcore women's matches.
Yeah.
Like, and so doing I'd be down for that. Just,
I think that's the way that you make it fresh next year.
Yeah. Great note. Good note to end on, because we're over 2 hours. We got to the end of the show.
For a 5-hour show, the fact that we're able to tear it apart in 2 hours is pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah, decent show. I'd put it kind of in the middle of typical AEW. I'm giving it
a B, bro. I'm just a B.
It's fine. It's fine.
The Jericho match was the worst thing on the card. It didn't need to be on the card.
No.
But it wasn't so much that like it was an embarrassment and AEW should rethink its entire like business strategy because they decided to put this match on. It just didn't work. But that's the kind of show that we had tonight. It was long. Some of these matches didn't need to be there.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, was I happy with the show? Did I have a good time? Yeah, I did.
That's fine. Yeah. I still haven't regretted a purchase yet. And I'm looking forward to Forbidden Door. We will probably have a conversation about that at some point.
Yeah. I'll see you next time for Forbidden Door if you want to do this again.
Oh yeah. I would love it. Let's book it.
Yeah. Well, plan on it.
All right. Well, it's 2 a.m. my time, so
It's midnight, and I have been up since 3 a.m. my time.
Oh gosh. All right. Well, let's wrap it up then.
Please, let's do it, man.
When are you doing a Strong Style?
Yeah, we do Strong Style, my weekly New Japan show. We're over 100 weekly episodes with Stephen Conway. We are currently covering the best of the Super Juniors tournament. There's one more night of regular play before the semifinals, and then the finals are at Dominion, and they have superseded the Jon Moxley versus Evil IWGP title match as the main event, which should tell you a whole lot about the way things are going into Japan right now.
Yeah.
But if you want to hear more about me bullshitting about New Japan and a good conversation with the true brain to the operation, Stephen Conway, join us here, Fight Game Media. Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. We talk about it. We do a live chat, and we are archived afterwards.
Excellent show. I actually keep track of New Japan more by listening to your show than I do by watching it right now.
Oh, thank you, buddy. That's what we're here for.
Yeah. I'm sure New Japan would be very happy about that.
Hey, if somebody's learning from me from New Japan, I'm both sorry and incredibly humbled.
Yeah. All right, we'll wrap it up. I will probably I fill in here and there, but I'll probably be back for the AEW pay-per-view. Seem to be my new gig, and I'm good with that. So we will see you next time for Forbidden Door. And until then, for Jeremy and everybody at Fight Game Media, thanks for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time.